Hello and welcome to your July Horoscopes. I'm a
What
little
month
bit
is it?
confused. What month is it again? We're meeting with Bianca, who is our in-house astrologer, and she's been with us for almost, I never remember, three, four
Over 3 years
years,
now. Over three
over three
years.
years now, delivering us with astrology tips. And what I really love about Bianca's approach is that she really dives into holistic health and how we can leverage our astrology to feel better and to navigate this whole world of wellness together. This month, I'm really curious to see also what has happened for you, Bianca, in June. Really curious about what happened to our community because there was a lot of stuff happening, and maybe we just have a little bit of a chat about what happened um, astrologically last month so that we can bring it into this month because I know some stuff is going to be processed throughout the month.
Yeah, 100%. Let me just open up my June stuff as a refresher.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, we had the summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. Cancer season began. So for me, as a Cancer sun, I'm very comfortable in Cancer season. And probably you as a Pisces, it's like feeling pretty good because they're both water signs. And yeah, I feel like we didn't have anything too disruptive last month, let's say. Like there weren't really any big disruptive transits. It was more like we had Venus Cazimi and we had Mercury Cazimi, which is when either Venus meets up with the sun or the sun meets up with Mercury. So it was like a lot of potential for inspiration and getting insights about different things, especially relationships. Yeah.
But the full moon was really potent. This full moon that was falling on the summer equinox.
Yeah, it was basically it was like a day apart from the solstice. So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, like those energies were super
solstice.
blended. And what's interesting actually about that is, so it was a full moon in Capricorn, and then in July we have another full moon in Capricorn at a later degree of the sign. Yeah, it's this like emphasis on Capricorn energy and thinking about those themes. So thinking about things like responsibility, how you've progressed on a sort of like long-term scale, not in the past 2 months, like in the past year, in the past few years, like what are you moving towards? What are you building? So yeah, that's also something interesting. And then we actually haven't experienced this yet at the time of recording, but we're going to have on June 29th, Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So this typically happens once a year for 5 months, totally normal. And anytime, especially we have a retrograde with one of the outer planets, so like not Mercury, not Venus, not Mars, but like Saturn and all of those guys out there, it really intensifies, it can intensify that energy and can intensify the themes of the sign that the planet has been in. So for Saturn retrograde in Pisces, it's things like creativity, spirituality, emotions, like boundaries with those, restrictions with those, things to do with water, for example. I think it was last year, what is it? The SAG-AFTRA strike, however you say it, was
Yeah, I
basically
remember.
totally corresponded with Saturn retrograde.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see if anything shows up again in the entertainment industry, or maybe it's just something else. Maybe it's also like watery things, floods, boats. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's
So
kind
look,
of like
one more
June
day
recap.
to
Yeah.
see.
But that's a whole 5 month thing. But yeah, like there wasn't any super difficult astrology last month. That is changing July onward to kind of get a little more
No.
interesting for sure. Yeah, especially mid-July, which happens to also be when my birthday is, so I'm a little a little concerned. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, should we just dive into July?
please. I'm
Okay.
also just making sure in my agenda that I actually have my call with you lined up because I know we're like having these quarterly meetings to discuss
I think we're doing next
astrology.
week.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just checking.
Yeah.
Everybody listening in, go and book your sessions because it's so useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Okay.
dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay. So on July 2nd, two things are happening. First of all, we have another retrograde, which is Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So Neptune is joining the retrograde party. So that means we both have Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Pisces kind of together. And interestingly, I think throughout the summer, but especially in July, they're going to get really close together. And I think it's not until either next year or 2026 that we're actually going to have a Saturn Neptune conjunction. But already we might see themes of like reality and illusion like blending together. So I would say for sure, because we have a lot of these retrograde planets, and we're also going to have Mercury retrograde in August, but that's for next month. It's especially important to be super discerning of things. And I think especially during this Jupiter and Gemini time that I for sure spoke about in May when we actually had that ingress, to just be really sure of like what you're taking in. Is it real? Is it not real? How do you judge what is true and what's not? Like things like that, I think is going to be super, super important. As like Saturn and Neptune are very close together in Pisces. And then, yeah, the same day, the 2nd, Mercury moves into Leo from Cancer, where, you know, it might be more about like vulnerability and emotions when we communicate. Now in Leo, there's more of a boldness, more of a fire, more of maybe saying what we actually feel, like what's on our mind type of thing. Already we can kind of keep in mind like whatever themes might be coming up with Mercury and Leo, we might see those emerge again during Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde is going to be in Virgo and Leo in August.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind. And retrograde shadow, I think, starts the 16th of July. Yeah, already. We'll see. I would say if we're planning anything, I would focus more on the first half of July rather than the second half.
Okay.
And preferably like before the 15th.
Okay.
Like, let's focus on that time, because after we have this crazy transit I'm going to tell you about, and Mercury retrograde shadow, which can already make things a little bit fuzzy.
Okay. Mark your calendars, and I'm saying this like I'm serious. Be on the lookout for dates whenever we shares, like whenever Bianca shares stuff like that. Write it down on your calendar. Best time to make plans and big decisions is the beginning of the month of July.
Yes, and I would say in general, yeah, focus your energy there rather than like the rest of the summer, because things are gonna get a little nutso. And for more on that, I recorded a Q3 astrology forecast. So by the time you see this, it will be up and available. I'm doing it differently this time. I'm going to have a preview on my podcast and on YouTube, and then you can purchase the full thing. But anyway, that's that. So now we can talk about the new moon in Cancer, which is happening sort of the evening of the 5th into the 6th. And what do we got happening there? Okay, so I think this one will be interesting. One thing that really stands out is Chiron in Aries is forming a square to Venus in Cancer during the new moon. So this could mean that some like woundings can come up when it comes to relationships. So that's something to be aware of. Like, see if anything is going on there.
More relationship stuff. It's like the summer of relationships.
Yeah. Seriously. I think also August, there's a lot of that too. Oh. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see how it goes. So yeah, the new moon in Cancer is forming a sextile to Mars and a trine to Saturn, which I actually really like in terms of being able to maybe like restructure things, come up with a new plan for something, move forward on certain things. Like it is a nice new beginning in that way. It's also the new moon is also squaring the nodes, and anytime we have something squaring the nodes, there's often this like urgency and this this kind of push to reevaluate where we're at. So like we might have this moment on the new moon where it's like, okay, I'm actually like a bit off course. I need to kind of recalibrate. So there's some helpful things that can help us do that in this new moon. And then also we have a Mercury-Pluto opposition, which could maybe be a little difficult. It might like bring up some stuff that's been hidden. But then we also have Mercury forming a sextile to Jupiter, Mercury forming a trine to Neptune, and the node. There might be stuff that comes up, but there's also like a lot to support us moving forward. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's more about also probably because there was all this energy into looking at our purpose and the bigger picture. It's more about consolidating a little bit this new moon and just like this whole fake, like what's coming up. It's more about consolidating.
Yeah, consolidating is a great word. I feel like anytime Saturn is involved, because that's what Saturn wants us to do.
Oh.
So then on the 11th, we have Venus moving into Leo, into the sign of Leo. And I think in the Horoscopes, I wrote that when Venus is in Leo, it both loves to show off, but then also to show affection and loyalty to other people. Yeah, so there's that. It's like a great time to really, if you haven't already in Venus and Cancer, be very vocal about like how, like what people mean to you. Yeah, demonstrate that. Yeah.
That's a good reminder, you know. I think we take it for granted sometimes that people know how we feel about them, but it's also it's nice when you think about it, what your needs are in a relationship, for example. Maybe you need to hear it more often, how others feel about you. So if you do feel that need, maybe project it also onto others, because it's something nice for others as well to be reminded of how you feel about them.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay. So now where things have the potential to get a little crazy is on the 15th of July, we have a Mars-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus. So, I mean, yeah, Mars is the planet of action and drive and will, also more archetypally, I mean, and in reality, it's can be a planet of war and aggression. And then, so we have that meeting up with Uranus, which is so much about like sudden things, random things, revolutionary things. So I would say on a global level, this doesn't necessarily bode well for conflicts getting resolved. In fact, something very unexpected could happen around that time. Given the astrology, let's see. Obviously, I don't want that, but I'm just looking at what's happening. Also, like historically, this transit can be related to like, yeah, new weapons and things like that. And also just like, yeah, sudden unexpected, like tragic events. Okay, so that's like the not so good. Not good at all side of this transit. But it can also be about like revolutionary acts that are sudden. So maybe like a sudden uprising that's actually in service of people. I don't know. That's a possibility, right? With Uranus involved. And it can also mean like more on a personal level, depending on where it is showing up in our chart. Also, like, this conjunction happens not so far off from where the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happened in April. So on a more personal level, it could mean that, like, whatever sort of breakthrough energy we experienced around the end of April, like, we could have some extra momentum towards it with this Mars-Uranus conjunction. Or Uranus can also be really great at just like breaking us out of routine or getting us out of a rut. So it could also mean that, like, we're just able to act differently in a way that is actually helpful as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Could go
Yeah.
some different ways.
As I was listening to you, I mean, I don't like bad news, so I'm not I'm not going in the direction of of the bad news, but
Mhm.
I was thinking about, you know, destruction, the term destruction, and how it can also be seen as something positive sometimes, because sometimes we have to deconstruct um, ways of thinking or ways of acting in order to move forward.
Mhm.
My hope is that it will be more geared towards that, towards destructing things that are not serving us
Mhm.
or moving the needle forward. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, in that sense, it reminds me a lot of the Tower card in the tarot. It's like, it's not like the tarot, the tower is partially burning down. It's like it needs to go all the way so that we can actually rebuild something completely new and better. Yeah, but tower moments in life can be scary, you know, when you feel like
Yeah.
everything is crumbling around you and like you don't have a grasp of things. It can be really hard, but then more often than not, what gets built up after is pretty great. It might just take some time.
It is, you know, it
Mhm.
was a card, it said pass, so it's like a
Mhm.
blockage in your
Yeah.
road. And funnily enough, for the first time, I don't know why, but instead of letting myself down, I said, wow, this is really powerful. Like, it's a really powerful teaching as well, to see that things don't always necessarily have to flow the way we want them to.
Mhm.
That there can be obstacles, and sometimes those obstacles are meant to be there to protect us from something that maybe we're not ready for. Funny that, yeah.
Yeah, or also I think you really get a good grasp of where you're at and your character when you deal with difficult things versus when things are easy. When things are easy, it's not hard to like be a good person and be on
Yeah.
top of things and It's way harder to do that when things aren't going right or when a random obstacle comes up. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Very, very Saturn vibes.
But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll report back with good news in August. Let's see. Let's hope.
Mars moves into Gemini on the 20th, which should be pretty interesting. So before that, of course, Mars has been in Taurus, where things in some ways might seem a little slow, but then in Gemini, definitely like the speed of life, or like the way we're taking action, definitely has the potential to get faster. With Mars in Gemini, definitely be mindful of like getting distracted or dispersing your energy a little bit too much, right? Because Gemini is a very multifaceted sign, which can be great in some ways and not helpful in others. So, yeah, that'll be interesting too, especially how Mars and Gemini will interact with Jupiter and Gemini and all that great stuff. Yeah. And then basically not too long after, on the 20th, 21st, we have our second full moon in Capricorn. The astrology of this one is a little different to the one we had in June, but it's interesting because this one is also very Neptune influenced. So again, it's like, it's kind of it's a dreamy full moon in Capricorn. It's not like so serious. And with this one, there's also a lot of like Uranus stuff happening, like Mercury square Uranus, also Mercury square Mars. So there's like a lot of potential for like new ideas and things like that. What else do we have?
New ideas that you should not implement because it's already on the other side of the month. Just keep them there. Keep them in a little box for later.
Right. Well, or just be more cautious in the implementation. I mean, it might be better to implement around then versus in the middle of Mercury retrograde the month after. But I don't know. Yeah, what else? We have I like the energy of this full moon better in terms of relationship stuff because we have a Venus Jupiter sextile that's like exact. So I feel like if there's been any conflict, like especially around the new moon in Cancer where we had that Chiron Venus square, I think there's some resolution like very much possible with the full moon in Capricorn, which is nice. And then we also have Venus and Leo forming a trine to the North Node in Aries. And so this can show up as like perhaps certain relationships or people in your life, it being revealed, or like around that time, they're actually really helpful on kind of keeping you on your path, let's say.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Leo season finally starts on the 22nd. Oh, Leo's ruled by the sun. The sun is everything, right? It gives us warmth and light. So we can think about Leo in that way. The idea of self-expression is really important with Leo, with spreading that warmth. It's related to the heart chakra as well. Yeah, Leo season is a good time to focus on that, to maybe focus on like your stuff and your creativity more than other things, let's say. Yeah, and to just like have fun. Like Leo's a very playful sign, so please have fun.
Before all this,
it doesn't even have to be Leo season, but just yeah.
Just generally have fun. Try to, wake up in the morning and be like, I want to have fun today.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the last thing I want to touch on is on the 25th, 26th, we have Mercury moving into Virgo. So Virgo is one of Mercury's home signs, so loves to be in Virgo. This is kind of a preview for more Virgo energy coming in next month, and then in Virgo season, of course. So great time to start to get organized with things, maybe be a little more methodical. Like Mercury in Leo isn't so like detail oriented, but Mercury in Virgo definitely is. So especially wherever Virgo is in your chart, like if you are familiar with the houses, you can see like, oh, okay, this might be a good area of my life to like focus on and see if I'm missing any details or things like that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Practical.
Virgo is more precisotto, as we say in Italian.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it for July.
That's July.
Vigorously prepares these forecasts for us every month. This will be published to the main channels. It will be on the app, and we really hope that this is helpful for you. If you have comments, if you want to let us know how the month is treating you, please do let us know. And we look forward to meeting again with you all in August.
Yep. See you in August.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Ciao.